Hi, I'm here today with NiclaD from NiclaD Interiors to talk about biophilic design. Now, at the moment, we're all spending an awful lot of time at home and we're missing the outdoors. And I know a lot of people are considering renovating, extending, moving house, and there's a lot of home improvement going on at the moment as well. So Nicola today is going to talk to us about biophilic design, what that is, the health benefits of it, and also what inspired her to go into this industry, which links back to her upbringing in Italy. Hi, Nicola, thanks for joining today.
Hi, Natalie. Ciao, everyone.
So can you tell us a little bit about your background and what inspired you to move into biophilic design?
Yes, as you were saying, I'm Italian. I was born in the south of Italy, in a region called Puglia, and I grew up in a little town by the seaside, surrounded by olive trees, and I remember spending my childhood in the countryside. I was quite a wild kid.
Okay, so can you tell us what biophilic design is?
Yes, sure. So the word biophilia means love of nature. In a nutshell, as human beings, we always had a natural bond with nature that due to the change of our lifestyle, we kind of lost. Before we used to live in the countryside. After the Industrial Revolution, people moved to the cities, started living an urban life, and that's when we lost connection with nature. So biophilic design aim is to restore the bond between human being, between people and nature. And what better way to do it in your house? What are the benefits of being connected with nature? Just to name a few, it reduces stress, it improves our mood, increase energy, productivity, and this is being tested as well in offices, for example, helps with mental issues like anxiety, depression.
Okay, so what are the 5 principles that biophilia focuses on, or the 5 key principles that we can apply to bring that into our home?
Yes, first of all, the easiest way is to introduce live plants in your house. Live plants purify the air through a bacteria in their roots. Another way is to use natural materials in your house, like wood, cork, bamboo, rattan, which is quite fashionable at the moment, stone, timber. Another principle is vary the air in your house, which basically means opening the window more and let the fresh air come in. This helps foster resilience both in adults and children. Another one is let natural light in. Why? Because being exposed to natural lights increase helps, let's say, with our what is called the circadian rhythm, which is our internal clock. So it regulates and helps with the sleeping patterns at night, and with feel energetic and full of life in the morning. Another one is to be connected to natural sounds. And when I say natural sounds, I include water sounds or even the birds tweeting, like the wind, for example, anything that is connected to natural sounds, really.
Okay. So how would I know there's 2 different ways that we're going to go into about how we can apply these principles. One is if you're really just looking for some simple ways to incorporate these elements at home now, while you might be making some small tweaks. But we'll start off with if we're looking at a big renovation or building a house from scratch, or major interior design makeover. How should somebody approach that in terms of biophilic design?
Biophilic design is not a style. I would say it's more principle that you can introduce in any style you like. So having said that, if someone is going through a renovation or big project, I assume they will contact an architect, okay? So at that point, it would be good to clarify with the architect or the interior designer you're using what you want to achieve, what are your aims, and if you want to have a healthier, happier space in your house where to bring up your children, for example, your family, generally speaking, you could actually get in touch with an interior designer, working together with an architect, and be involved probably as soon as possible, so that the two approaches kind of can be done together. So you would consider, for example, what kind of material to use in your house. You would consider what kind of paint to use. Does it have chemicals? Is it water-based? Is it oil-based? Or material? What are they being treated with? Are they being treated like, I don't know, your furniture, your table with varnish, which is toxic? Or are we treated with beeswax? Talking about material is important as well. I would say, I would recommend to use natural material as much as we can. So cotton, wool, and obviously when you select a fabric, if it's a natural fabric, the better. Talking about bringing a biophilic element through fabric, for example, that means choosing patterns like tropic plants or animals or leaves, anything that reminds you of nature.
Right, so I think actually there we've segued nicely into some simple things that we could introduce into our homes now during lockdown that don't necessarily have to cost much money, if any. Looking at what we already have, or some simple things we can purchase. Since you've mentioned things there like furniture, for example, it could be that people are looking to replace some of their furniture. But if they have wooden furniture that's varnished, and now I'm taking a closer look at my lovely unit in my lounge that's wood but varnished. So this is the potential then, I guess, to maybe strip that back and wax it instead, or put a different product on top that then makes it healthier for the environment.
Yeah, I know a lot of people at the moment are redecorating the walls. Obviously, there is a lot of time. And one thing I would recommend as well, which is helpful, is to choose maybe natural colors like green, blue of the sky, or yellow as the sun, or a earth color like terracotta, for example, is a lovely color. And also be careful and consider the kind of light that the space you're decorating gets. If it gets like a cold light, you can introduce like warmer tones of color. If it gets warmer light, so the room is exposed to south light, you want to introduce maybe colder color, and for example green, it's a good one, or blue is another good one. So colors, if you're decorating, as I mentioned, fabric, choosing natural material, cotton, wool. Furniture wise, I would make sure that you shop consciously, and that you ask who you're buying from what kind of chemicals they're being used to treat the furniture. I would recommend as well curved furniture, because curved shape is more of finding natural environment. If you think in nature, we hardly find any corner, anything like really there's no rounded. So that reminds you as well of nature. Incorporate, for example, a water feature. If you're lucky enough to have a garden, you can put a fountain there, because the water sound is being found to be really relaxing. If you think about meditation tape, for example, most of the time there is the sounds of waves of water, and terrarium can have as well some water and plants that grow in water. So it's really nice to have on your desk, on your coffee table, for example. It's nice as well to, if you're doing some project, you could kind of recreate a sort of nook in your house where you can restore your energy, where you can relax and use natural color in there, introducing some plant, succulent, for example. If you don't really know how to care for plants, there are loads of plants that are really low maintenance. Aloe vera, succulent are really low maintenance. Also the spider plants, you can buy those kind of plants, for example. And yeah, it's important that you have like a sort of retreat space in your house where you can sit and relax having a cup of tea, reading a book, and at the same time, just we spend so much time at our computer, using our mobile. It's the time where you really have to detach from this thing and reconnect with yourself and with nature. So these are a few of the tips that I would give, to be fair. Then there are loads of other ways, but I could stay here and talk for hours, honestly. And for hours, because something I'm really passionate about, and because I experimented on myself the benefits, so I could stay and tell you so many things. But these are the more practical ways, I'd say. Or if you are, undertaking a project yourself, the first thing when you decorate a room is thinking, okay, what kind of atmosphere do I want in this room? Do I want a relaxed atmosphere? Do I want something to energize me? So based on that, you pick also the colors. Like in a bedroom, for example, I would, as much as red is a lovely color, orange, yellow, lovely colors, I would never recommend to use them in a bedroom. Why? Because they're really stimulating colors. So they are good, for example, for kitchen, for a living room, for an office, any social space. And if you think about the colors most used in restaurants are the different shade of red. Why? Because that stimulate people to eat more, to be more cheerful. So there is all this color psychology behind it that's really interesting and I'm really passionate about. And therefore, it's important that you from the beginning what you want to achieve in your room. You can't choose a color just because you like the color. You need to think how you're going to use the room as well. So that's really important.
Brilliant. And actually, one other last point before we close up I wanted to pick up on is you mentioned creating a calm, relaxing space to go to relax to. I think that's probably something a lot of households could use at the moment, and there'd be a queue to use it. It sounds like a really lovely way to test out perhaps what would the principles that you're talking about here and how they might work for us and how they would apply in our homes to pick a corner. Apply the principles that we've talked through and actually see if that does work for people, if it's resonating with them, if they do find that that's a nice relaxing corner for them, which I'm sure they will, without huge expenditure. It's almost like a test pot that you can have in your home to try this out and then see how you can use these principles across the rest of the house.
Yes, well, probably the first thing I would suggest is to find a space which get loads of natural light. So it could be nearby a window, or for example, thinking about the bathroom. If we have a bath nearby the window, so you can decorate that with plants, with the trailing plant. I love, as you can see, trailing plants, and that could be your personal retreat space. Or if you have a landing, for example, you can use that space. Normally a landing has got a window. You can use that space to have a chair where you can read your book. You can sit down and read your book. Or if you have a bay window, you can create a sort of nook or a sort of bench where you can sit there and enjoy the outside, but at the same time having like 10 minutes, your me time, just relaxing. And again, probably the easiest way is to have flowers or plants, or also images of a holiday place where you've been. Like it could be by the seaside, could be by a lake, by, I don't know, the Cotswold, for example. I love the Cotswold. Anywhere really that makes you feel calm and relaxed. So even having an image can have the same benefit on you. So I would say that. And something else I would pick up is like if you're working from home, for example, trying to position your desk by a window and to get natural light, and if you have a garden, trying to also thinking about winter time, for example, where we're going to spend more time indoor, it would be good if you could enjoy your garden. So look after your garden, make sure you have lovely plants and colors with flowers. So that is really helpful as well. And I know that English people love their garden, so I'm sure everyone will do that and look after their garden. So yeah, that would be something else I would say. Winter time, we can't spend a lot of time outside. outside, but try to enjoy the outside view as much as you can, by a window, by look at the garden, having a nook where you can sit down and read or have your cup of tea. That would be my quick tips, let's say, my quick recommendation.
I'm aware at the moment that for anybody planning renovation, interior design, or a larger project, you're providing remote consultations. Is that correct?
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. We can have a Zoom call, a Skype call, or anything that is easier, and I can look around at the space, and we can talk. How I can help, and what are the issues can resolve. And yes, remotely it works okay for the time being. And yes, it's a first step, let's say, in helping people to create a healthier and happier home.
Thank you very much, Nicla. Thanks for your time, and Nicla's contact details will be coming up next if you'd like to give her a call. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Natalie. And yeah, have a good day, everyone.